everybody, my name is Robert Burke. Welcome to the very first episode of When to Play. So, why on God's green earth do we need another board game video review dude on the internet? Well, the answer is I don't know. We really don't. But I'm going to do it anyway. So, I have a small, a wee problem with a lot of board game reviews. It's kind of a board game review to me is kind of like somebody coming on the internet and saying red is the best color ever. It's deep, it's intricate, it's vivid. Red, go buy red. While somebody else says blue is a horrible color. This is the worst color I've ever seen in my life. It's depressing and boring. Right? It's an opinion. It's one person's opinion. Unless a reviewer is a clone of you, then it doesn't offer you that much value. What you need to know is, does a particular game fit the type of gamer you are? Does it have the things in it that you enjoy? And does it fit the group or groups of people that you tend to play with? That's what's important. So let me give you some perspective on what I'm talking about. One of my greatest memories with playing a game is from when I was a child. It was after dinner. I was with my brother and my parents and my grandmother, who I miss dearly to this day. She was a saint. But anyway, dinner was cleared. We were at the kitchen table. It was a big round wooden table. Everybody was sitting around the table. And I don't know how it was introduced, but somebody brought a marble to the table, and we started just flipping the marble back and forth, rolling it on the table to each other. And before we knew it, we had developed some rules. The first rule was you could only use your index finger to flick the marble. And you could flick it at anybody you wanted, and they could block the marble only with their index finger. If they missed, then you would score a point. So it was a very simple game that we developed with only a couple very simple rules, and we had so much fun playing that game. I still remember it to this day, 38 years later. That marble was flying around the table, and it got quicker and quicker, and we were laughing. The situations that came up were hilarious, and it really wasn't about winning. Sure, that was a component, but it was about spending time together and having fun. And that's what board games are all about. And I'm afraid that a lot of people in the hobby are losing sight of that. Why did you get into board gaming to begin with? You got into it to be social with your friends and with your family, to be with people face to face, and to have fun. So that brings me to my first game that I've selected for this video review series on When to Play. So I have chosen a game that the hobby game community universally hates. They despise this game. On Board Game Geek, this game is rated a 4.5 on a scale of 1 to 10. And that is a horrendously bad score. It's not Monopoly. I know you're thinking Monopoly. It's not. It's close, though. It's Sorry, the game of sweet revenge. So, just for giggles, let's look at some of the reviews on Board Game Geek for Sorry. So, I'm going to read some reviews, comments that people have left on Board Game Geek that have left Sorry a rating of 1 on a scale of 1 to 10. So, this is the worst rating somebody could give the game, and here's what they said about it. So Tim K says horrible, just plain horrible. MG says this game I despise the most, variants or not. So no beating around the bush on those two reviews. Some more. We've got Roxy says, the only way I'd play this game is if I was piss-ass drunk. Sorry is probably the horriblest game of all time. So Roxy is so affected by sorry that it's impacted her grammar skills. So you can see, and the ones are, there's page after page of people who have rated sorry a 1. Sorry is a very random game. It is very luck based. There's not a lot of strategic decisions to make at all. And I'll talk about that more in a little while. However, there are many people who have rated Sorry very highly. Let's look at some of the 10 ratings that it's gotten on Board Game Geek. Thomas says the simplest of games, something almost anyone can enjoy. So while some people think its simplicity is a negative, other people think its simplicity is a positive. Melissa says it's lots of fun and exciting. And Will Wheaton, you probably know Will Wheaton. He was Wesley Crusher in Star Trek The Next Generation. He's an actor. And he's probably the biggest celebrity in board game culture that there is right now. He left a comment on Sorry on Board Game Geek, and he says, he rates it a 10, and he says, this gets a 10 because I play it at least once a week with my wife. It's pretty brainless and a great excuse for us to have a glass of wine and just hang out. And that speaks exactly to the point I'm trying to make. Will admits that the game is brainless. This is not a strategy game. It doesn't take a lot of brain power. But it's an excuse for him to spend time with his wife. For him and his wife to sit together face to face. He's probably more concerned about the conversation he's having with his wife than winning the game. But the game provides something for them to do together and to have banter about and to communicate over. So he sees the value in that in Sorry, and I see the value in that in Sorry too, and a lot of other games that hobby gamers would shoot down. So let's talk about Sorry. Sorry comes with a simple game board. The graphic design is totally old school. You've got a track that runs around the outside of the board here where players place their different color pawn pieces, which are these standard looking traditional pawns. And you don't roll in this game, you draw cards, and cards have numbers on them, and the numbers tell you how many spaces you can move on the board here. There are these sliders, so if you land on a slider arrow, you can move your pawn and slide it up to where that this circle is here. You have to finish here on this track, and you've got to exactly draw cards so you can end up exactly on your home base. Once you get all your pawns in the home base, you win the game. Where the sweet revenge part comes in is if you land on an opponent's pawn on the same space, you send them all the way back to their starting area. All the pawns have to start here. And that can really hurt somebody, especially if it's made it a long way around the board already. So there's a lot of that kind of backstabbing element to the game. There are some cards that do have decision points on them as well. Most of the cards just have a number, like 12. If you get 12, you get to move 12 spaces. That's a lot. 11, though, gives you a choice. If you draw card 11 and play it, you can move your pawn 11 spaces, or you can change places with an opponent. So this lets you move forward and hose your opponent at the same time. So this is a good opportunity. This is why this is such a great family game, especially when you're playing with younger kids. It gives them a very simple decision to make. And talk to them about it if you're playing with your kids. You can move 11, or you could move and you could switch with your sister and send her back and move you forward. Which one is better for you to do and why? So a very basic, easy, tactical decision for somebody to make, but for a child, that's very important in their development and teaching them things. It's also very valuable for children in teaching them how to be good sports, right? When they do hose their sister or land on their brother and send them back to the start, or if they win the game, are they good sports about it? Are they humble? You can teach them those things when you play this game. You can also teach them to be a good sport when something bad happens to them. When their sister wins the game, can the brother who just lost take that well? Can you help? Is it an opportunity for you to teach them to lose and to win gracefully? These are important lessons. These are things you can teach with games like this. But more importantly, again, it comes back to spending time with your family face to face and having fun together. That's what Sorry is all about. So for families, Sorry is a game that people have to own. It's a game that kids must play. Now, if you're a gamer, a strategy gamer, this is not a game I would ever bring to my game group to play. When we're there to play more serious strategy games, it would grow over like a ton of bricks. So if you're a deep strategy gamer, if you don't have kids, this is not a game you want to play. It's not a game you want to own. If you have kids, or if you're in a family that doesn't include a lot of gamers, Sorry is probably a game that you own. It's a classic game that's easy to learn, that you can play quickly. And like Will Wheaton says, he likes to play it with his wife just so they can spend time together and have something to do while they're spending time together. So all this stuff is important for the game of Sorry. And you've got to think about the situation you're in when you play the game. So this is a very basic example, and it's very common sense. But as I do different games that are more complex, I'm going to take the same approach. But I wanted to start with something as simple and divisive as Sorry to make my point. That no reviewer can tell you what you're going to like and what you're not going to like. A reviewer is not going to know who makes up your gaming group or the situation when you're going to pull out a game. No reviewer can tell you that. What you need to understand is what type of people and what type of groups certain games are. So as I do these reviews in the future for more complex games, my hope is that it will help you decide whether it's a game you should buy or a game you should at least try. So that's it. That's our first video review. Thanks for watching the very first When to Play video. I appreciate the fact that you actually watched the whole thing. Your comments and suggestions are welcome. This is, again, the very first review I've done like this. I hope to do a lot more, so your input is greatly appreciated. Thanks.